love feels good, right? Everybody wants to feel loved. There's probably nobody else in the world that deals with more of these types of stories and scams than we do.
What's the most amount of money somebody's lost? Do you know?
Over $3 million.
Welcome to Secrets from a Billionaire's Matchmaker with Matchmaker Gina Hendrix.
Hey, you guys, welcome, welcome. I have a very special guest. His name is David McClellan, and I discovered him online and I begged him to come on and join me because he's a catfish expert. And they do these things. I don't know if you've seen his YouTube where they catch, they bust catfishers. I don't know. And then they also talk to the people who believe that they're dating Tom Cruise or they believe that they met Keanu Reeves. I mean, have you guys been like DM'd by Keanu Reeves? I think I have over the years, of course, not real Keanu Reeves. So David, I'm calling you the Catfish King. Does anybody ever call you the Catfish King?
No, I've been on variations of the catfish person, but yeah.
Okay, perfect. You're the Catfish King because you catch them. So tell everybody a little bit about you. Like, how did you get started in all this?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm an entrepreneur by heart. I started internet marketing about 17 years ago. I've worked for like CBS, the broadcasting company, and then I started Social Catfish while I was there, not knowing anything really about catfishing, not having the experience. Everybody asks, was I catfish? No, I just saw an opportunity to help people out, and so I wanted to not create a world where, the internet's the wild, wild west and we could pretend to be whoever we want to be. And so decided to build a verification service, 13 years ago. When we built it, things blew up and, we are now. And, we get about 20 million eyeballs a year on, the Catfish channel and, our website. We have a TV show on Fox Nation called Scammed Getting Even. And then we've had our YouTube channel Catfished for the last 5 years.
That's great. And is there any particular story that stands out amongst all of them?
Every time I think I have a story or every time I think I've seen it all, something else happens. But I mean, you know, there's probably nobody else in the world that deals with more of these types of stories and scams than we do. We have millions of people that come to us every single month. We get thousands and thousands of submissions. And then, when you look at social media and the website and the YouTube channel, we've heard it all. We've dealt with stories, people believing they're talking to real celebrities to, we've had people that are talking to, romance scammers in Nigeria. We've gone over to Nigeria to confront these scammers and work with law enforcement. I mean, I've done a little bit of everything essentially.
What's the most amount of money somebody's lost? Do you know?
Over $3 million. But we did have a case a year and a half ago in Texas where we uncovered about $5 million in Bitcoin at the time. And that's when Bitcoin was right around, I think around 50 or $60,000 a Bitcoin and went up to over 100,000. So, if those scammers kept the cryptocurrency, it'd be worth like significantly more.
Wow. And who gets scammed in your experience? Who gets scammed more often, men or women?
So it's actually pretty close to 50-50. Women are more vocal about being scammed than
Right,
men.
that's true. Men would be a little more embarrassed.
Yeah. And then the types of scams that target women are different than the types of scams that target men. And so women, there's a lot of like the emotional type, scam, like when we're dealing with like catfishing, there's a lot of the emotional type scam, the love bombing, where men, there's a lot more like sexual type, talk and pictures. And, we see a lot of adult film stars, their pictures used, to target men, where, women, you see kind of the everyday guy or like the muscular guy or the military person's images being used.
Now, we do have a question. Rachel has a question for you. Hey, Rachel.
Hi. They say that, with scamming aside, they say that almost more than half of the men on dating apps are actually married or in a relationship and all that stuff. Is there anything on their profile that you've noticed or common things that they would put on that we could recognize that they're actually not single?
I would look them up. I mean, like that's what I look up people for a living. So I would look them up. I would find their social media profiles. And then the other thing too, like we actually deal with a lot of married people that are romance scammed and they're actually cheating on their spouses. But one thing we see a lot is that, they're selective on when they'll chat with you or talk to you, and they're not available, especially as the conversation like moves on, they're not available all the time. They're only available certain times, or there's excuses that pop up. But you can also do just a background check and look up, somebody's name, look up their social media profiles. We have people that come to us all the time, that ask us to look into people, to make sure they're not married or to make sure that they don't have a criminal history, which you should probably do anyway, if you're not using a matchmaker and you want to do things safely. It's just too easy. It's too easy to get on these apps, and especially if you're on Bumble or whatever, like you can match with anybody, and it doesn't mean they're a bad person or an amazing person. You just should be safe, especially as a female, with how you do things. I'm sure Gina has better recommendations on how to do things safely, but looking somebody up is a very easy, basic thing to do, especially if you're going to go on a date, and you should have an understanding of like what you're walking into. We've talked to people that have gone on dates with people that have been to prison for murder and for, and a lot of different things. And so you have to decide what your boundaries are. And if those are your boundaries, like, do a quick background check. It doesn't take very long. It's not overly expensive, but it's worth doing it. And you can weed people out pretty quickly.
So, Rachel, what I would say is I feel like if somebody were married, they wouldn't go on a dating site because they're putting themselves out. I mean, that's like they would be more, I would think they'd be more apt to drop into your DMs or come about it another way. Hell, a bar, grocery store. But a dating app, you're really like just putting it all out there. And I would think that's extremely risky for somebody who's married. So in my opinion, I would say I think it's highly unlikely.
We've done thousands and thousands and thousands of cases. And whenever there's infidelity, it's almost always through social media, like almost always through social media, or like a random text message. I don't think I've ever heard of a case. I mean, we've seen them, but like they're very few and far between where it's actually somebody on a dating site. Usually it's like they're separated or something along those lines, and then they'll jump on the dating site. But most of what we see is stuff through social media, people getting into each other's DMs. That's like 95% of what we see on the infidelity side.
Like TikTok, social or Instagram or wherever. Yeah. Or Facebook, probably, connecting with an old love from the past or things like this. Yeah. Thank you. That was my theory because it just didn't logically make any sense why a man who's cheating would go to the most public place in the world to do that. But, in this world, how would somebody really know the difference between, oh, I'm overreacting and I ruled out a guy that was an okay guy versus, whoa, I dodged a bullet?
Well, I mean, what we typically see in like catfish scams, and so I'm talking more on the scam side, there's different types of catfishing. So there's somebody that, uses somebody else's pictures because they're embarrassed of maybe who they are, they're trying to meet somebody, and then they actually meet up in person and they're not who they like, not at all what they look like.
Right.
Or there's different forms of catfishing where maybe I use my pictures from 20 years ago, and then that's really me, but I'm using that. But what we deal with most of the time are the scams. And so where people's images are actually being stolen, and people that are trying to steal money from you are using those pictures. And in those instances, usually people have a gut feeling that something's off. The conversations are very surface level and they cater to anyone. So for example, like a scammer will say, hey, I could go ride a horse and then go to opera the next day, because they're trying to appeal to as many people as possible. And, they, won't meet up, they won't video chat, or if they do video chat, there's usually something wrong with the video chat, whether it's blurry or they don't talk back. And it doesn't last for very long. And so, the biggest red flags that we typically see is that, the person won't get on video chat. That's the first thing. We're seeing a lot of AI, and that's the scary part right now, where it's easy. Like you could go and you could take this video of me and you could drop it into some deep fake software, which is, if you just Google it, you can find free software to do this stuff. And then you say, hey, take this guy and make him say this. And especially if somebody's not tech savvy, it's really, really easy to believe. And we see that with a lot of celebrities now, where their images and their videos are stolen, and these scammers will deep fake these videos and then send them over. And it's like, hi, Gina, I hope you're having a great day. My lips are moving. It's the voice, everything. And then something small seems off. So it's getting very, very difficult now to actually tell what's real, what isn't. And so the biggest thing is just find somebody you can go get coffee with. So find somebody you can actually go on a real date with in person.
Right. I agree. I mean, I would say the most like egregious thing that I saw recently, and I didn't see it, I thank God. She has told me about it, but it was a woman who messaged me on Instagram. She was an older woman. I'm guessing she was probably late 60s, maybe early 70s. I'm not sure. She met this man online and he was a younger guy and he lived in DC, but conveniently he was like in Dubai doing work. I'm sure you heard all this. And then as they were going along, she messaged me, I guess because she probably thought something was off, but she was hopeful and maybe she thought I would like say, no, this happens, but quite the opposite. And so anyway, turned out it was a younger guy. I started telling her from what she was telling me, I said, I feel like this is a scam, if he can't, she's like, I've seen him on video. And then all of a sudden during our conversation, because I know what questions to ask and stuff, she started kind of having a meltdown and she was like, but I had like video sex with him. Like what? Like how could she have had video sex with him if he was like, I'm guessing, here's my thing. I bet there's a team of people involved. I don't know. And so now he has her on video and now she's worried about the video. And here's what this scam was. And you may have heard this. So the scam was he was going to come and he was coming back into town and he was going to be taking her out and they were going to, in the span of time, he wanted her to get a house for them to get a house together. I mean, she was all in. And she thought she'd seen him on video. Oh. And so now he's sending a gold bracelet as proof, this gold bracelet. She's like, what do I do when the gold bracelet comes? I said, I don't think the gold bracelet's really going to come. What do I do when he comes to the airport? I said, I don't think he's going to be coming to the airport. And so in all this, she then gets a message from customs that says that she needs to pay a certain amount of money and it becomes this whole thing. And then she confronts him. This is all playing out in my DMs. It was like I was there. I was like living it with her. And then she said he was threatening to kill himself. She's like, I don't know what. Have you heard all this stuff before?
I mean, a million times. Like I did. This is my life.
Yeah. I told her, I said, you got to block him and walk away. But it's like, it's almost like sometimes people have brainwashed themselves.
Yeah, like they tend to target people in different situations. And like there's a lot of psychologists actually used in this. Like if you ever go buy a car or there's a lot of psychologists used in sales situations. And so I've studied a lot of, online psychology, and there's a lot of things that these scammers do. And so they'll love bomb you, they'll isolate you from friends and family. It becomes habitual where it's like part of your life. There's reciprocation. So like maybe they'll send you a ring or teddy bears or flowers. Like they'll actually send this to you.
Oh, they would. Yeah.
They'll use somebody else's credit card to do it. Or they get other people involved. And, there's this like authority concept where, we don't question authority. And so if like the customs company reaches out to her and says, you need to pay this, they think, hey, I have to do this in order to get this. And it's very common, very normal. It's the number one scam in the United States. There's over $1 billion that's lost by people getting scammed like this. Just nobody talks about it.
So if a man is targeting women online on the dating sites, are there certain profiles he's looking for that stand out to him as like a good target?
Let's speak like statistics. So statistically speaking, yes, everybody's scammed. Like in fact, the age demographic 18 to 22 is the fastest growing age demographic for these types of scams.
I'm shocked by that, actually. I'm shocked by that.
But they don't lose as much money because they don't have as much money to lose. Right. And so scammers tend to target people 55 and up, people that are widowed, lonely, depressed, right? Those are people that they can target and that usually have the most disposable income because they're in the latter part of their lives. They have retirement, they have things they own, assets. And so those are the people that the scammers typically target, but they target everyone. Like we've all gotten those like weird text messages like, hey, Kevin, or hey, John, or I'm coming here, or you get the random DMs. Those are all people trying to target you and have conversations and eventually try to love bomb you and trick you into handing over money. It happens to every single person. We just don't answer the DMs or the text messages or requests to add somebody. So
if a man is targeting women 55 and over on the dating apps, let's say, is he looking for something specific in her profile, like her pictures, or like, is there anything that I'm curious if you have a theory on this. You must have seen dating profiles of these people because
Yeah, like if you say you're widowed, or if you go to like a profile, like a celebrity profile, and you comment, on Instagram and say, "Oh, George Strait, I love you. I'm a big fan of you." You're gonna get 3 or 4 DMs from George Strait, saying, "Hey, this is my private account." Or if you are, responding to scammers, they sell like their phones and their lists. So if a scammer scammed you or had a conversation with you and they don't get anywhere, or whatever the case be, they may sell you as a list,
wow.
or they may sell their phone with all their, they call them clients, but all the people in their phone. So you could totally get passed around. And then, depending on where the scams are happening, they work differently. So sometimes they work in groups, sometimes they're isolated. They all learn very similar tricks, but this is kind of how it goes.
And you have that online site. Now, how is that different or better than like Truth Finder, let's say?
Yeah, so we have an online site. It's called socialcatfish.com. The thing is, I do this every day. And so, Truth Finder, they're a good company, but like they build software and technology for all their users. I do this every day, and we actually do investigations. And so we understand the nuances of like verifying people and what people are actually doing. And we're the only site with an image search also. So, if you go to some of the other sites, they don't do images, and you could verify emails, you can verify phone numbers. But one thing about images, if there's a match, there's a match, And so images are the best way to try to verify somebody. And then using secondary piece of information like a phone number or email are like really effective too.
All right, we got another one. All right, Laura.
You're talking about there's certain things. I see these rashes of, oh, I'm widowed and I'm just now getting back in the dating scene, and they're almost all saying the exact same. At some point, there might be a poor guy that actually is a widow. Are there any suggestions or any kind of comments or questions that you can come back and kind of help, sort those out? Or do we just kind of go delete, delete, delete?
No, I wouldn't say delete. I'm going to speak for you, David, but you go ahead, David.
Yeah, they're data points, right? So it's just, hey, look, are they widowed? Are they in military? Are they stationed overseas? And these are all like data points that add up. And so you have to make a determination, like, does this make sense to pursue or not pursue? But I mean, I'll let Gina speak for actual matchmaking, but I would assume that you eventually want to meet up with somebody and go on a date and not just become like pen pals. And so, what we always recommend is that, you get on there and be intentional with like how you're actually dating. And also like what we've seen a lot, like, yes, people can be widowed. Yes, they can be in the military. Yes, they can be a contractor. But if they're not going to video chat, or if there's all these problems, or they're like love bombing you, and every conversation is either love bombing you and asking you for money, and there's no in between conversations, that's a big red flag. And then another thing we see, like scammers won't use your name because they're talking to so many people at one time. And so they'll call you like pet names, like my queen, like right off the bat, like my queen or my love or different things. And so
That's the best tip you've given all night. That's great.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
But these are just data points. But the biggest thing is if somebody's asking you for money, they're asking you for your personal information, or they're asking to send you money, those are huge red flags that like somebody's just trying to take advantage of you.
I wouldn't say just because he's a widower, just because he's a widower, I don't think that, and that's what David's saying too, that doesn't rule him out.
Yeah.
But it does make you go, huh, I want to gather a few more facts with this guy and see. And I love the thing about, is he saying your name? Great question. So, okay. So David, I don't want to keep you all night, but do you want to give the ladies like, I mean, listen, if she's divorced, should she not say she's divorced? Because here's the thing. If she's on a dating site, there's some that ask that question and some that don't. But if she says she's never been married, that's not good either in terms of a lot of people are judging people. You know what I'm saying? Because I know what men say. So therefore, if somebody is widowed or divorced, I mean, why, like, what's the other answer? If that's the alternative,
I say own it. Like if you're widowed, own who you are, and love yourself, but just they're data points,
Yeah,
so
right. Data points. I agree.
Yeah. So, if somebody comes in and they're love bombing you, and even their grammar is not very good, if they're stationed overseas, if they can't visit you, if there's all these excuses, it's probably better to move on or put them on the back burner and still keep looking. Where people tend to get in trouble is they start having conversations with these people every day, all day long. And you have to think a lot of these scammers tend to be overseas. And so like a place like Nigeria, where we see 90% of these types of scams come out of. And so if they get $10,000 from somebody, that's enough to live like very, very well over the course of like more than a year. And so they can talk to you all day, every day. And if they're getting a few $100s out of you or a couple $1,000s out of you, that's for them, it's very lucrative. And so you just be careful like when that happens. And what we tend to see, like it almost becomes an addiction. And so these people get used to talking to these scammers and it feels good, and love feels good, right? Everybody wants to feel loved. Everybody wants somebody to feel attracted to them. And so you have somebody that's love bombing you and telling you how much they love you, and it feels good. But just take a step back and look at all the other data points. Hey, is this person not willing to meet? Are there excuses? They're stationed overseas. Are they asking for money? Are they asking for my personal details? And then sometimes we see scammers will try to send you money themselves. And so people will say, oh, I didn't send money, but they received it, or they, sent a gift card or something along those lines. So just be careful of those things.
That's a good one. And so that's another thing. This is something I've heard recently. And on that note, you queued me up for this. So there's a new thing, I guess, kind of happening on Venmo where somebody, but that would be such a good scam for the guy that you're talking to accidentally send you money on Venmo. Oh my God, I was sending it and you popped up and because that's a thing now. So even this happened to me the other day. Now, I don't know, bless her heart, did she accidentally do it? Send me $10 or did she not? I don't know who she is, but she sent me $10, but she's not getting the $10 back. Why? Because what they're doing is they're stealing money from somebody else. They're giving you money that's not really their money, but then you give them $10 or $100 or $1,000. Listen, if I was going to be a scammer doing it on Venmo, hell, I'd go for the low dollar, $10, because you could do $10 all day with so many people, you'd rake it in. And it's going to cause less suspicion than $100, you know what I mean? Than $50. So just be careful. I think that's, so that's another good way that he could give you money. And then, that's a good one, David. I hadn't thought about a man doing it until you triggered that. So that's absolutely brilliant. Thank you. All right. Any tip you want to leave him with, and then we'll let you go. One tip you haven't covered. Oh, I know. If it looks too good to be true, it almost always is.
People that come to us always have the spidey senses are going off. Trust your intuition and don't be afraid to set your boundaries. I mean, just dating in general, I'm sure you tell your clients to set their boundaries on what they want and what they don't want. It's the same thing. If somebody is not doing things that, that you need from a relationship, or they're doing things that you don't want, set those boundaries and listen to your gut and walk away.
So the one last thing I'm going to ask, because I didn't get to watch the full story and I don't know how it ended. I watched a social media video you had, and you guys should go and check all of his stuff out. Tell them again how to find you, David.
Yeah, so you can check me out. He's Dave on Instagram or TikTok. So HESDAVE. And then we have our YouTube channel that's Catfished. So you can check it out on YouTube. We have our show on Fox Nation. It's called Scammed Getting Even. And then our website, socialcatfish.com. So if you want to look somebody up or run a quick verification, you can sign it up. It's unlimited usage and you can pay month to month or, go with a subscription. So
love it. So, okay. So there was an older woman and an older man, and the man said he was just with the woman as out of convenience. He was having an affair with the porn star. And then, because I only watched the Instagram part, I didn't go to watch the full thing. So who was actually scamming him?
So it's somebody from Nigeria. So the porn star, she had her images, she had her image was stolen. And so she was able to get on and say, hey, this is not me. And, the story that he was given didn't follow with, where the pictures were actually taken. I mean, this is like a pretty common thing we see. It's really interesting because on the male side, especially the people that are scammed out of a lot of money, there tends to be like a porn addiction, and they tend to fall for this over and over and over and over and over. And so he had an addiction, and so he had this false sense of the type of person that he would match up with. He ended up getting scammed again, after this. So
we got scammed again?
Even after we revealed everything. So
oh my God. And did the wife stay with him?
Unfortunately, yeah, she stayed with him. So it's, I mean, that relationship just wasn't healthy.
Clearly. Yeah, clearly. Wow, wow, wow. And probably he's following a lot of porn stars on social media. And then that's how the scammers, I would imagine, target him and he gets on their radar.
Yeah, he makes a comment on social media, and then he gets all these messages, and he thinks that these are all real, and that he actually felt like he even said it when he's like, all these women are after me, and he was like proud of it, but they're all fake.
And this was he was a pretty old guy. I mean, I don't know, late 60s or early 70s, maybe.
Yeah, and we don't always see, that imbalance of, and anybody can match with anybody, but usually you try to match in like people that are on your level, and so we tend to see, with these bigger scams that there's an imbalance where maybe somebody's in their 60s and they're dating somebody in their 30s, or somebody's extremely attractive and somebody is not. And so we see this like really imbalance for people who lose a lot of money because they become so addicted to this. But I mean, we see all the time where people match with people and are like, hey, I could see them dating in real life, the people they're matching with. But it just comes down to the data points, the red flags. Be careful of those things.
Right.
And just look somebody up.
I love it, David. You've been great. I really appreciate you.
Yeah, absolutely. Nice. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you. All right. We'll see you again. I'll see you on social media, I'm sure.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you. There you go. I think we've covered so many goddamn bases tonight. It's not funny. This has been fun. It's been, enlightening. David was such a phenomenal guest. All right, you guys. So just remember, the takeaways are everything in life is going to require effort. If it looks too good to be true, it usually is. If you think there's going to be miracles happening right away and you just have to show up and no, that's not life. That's not real life. Whether it's your business or your dating, it requires effort. And always stay positive. Don't surround yourself with anybody who's going to be negative or pull you into a negative place. Those people, out of your life, okay? Out of your life. So that's the takeaway today. I hope you've had a great time. All right, so you're all so fabulous, and I appreciate you joining me. I hope you've enjoyed it. Talk to you soon.
Want to keep up with more of Gina's advice? Follow her on TikTok and Instagram at Matchmaker Gina Hendrix, or visit her matchmaking website, ginahendrix.com.